Mrs. Johnston back again. Time for Knowledge and Social Studies lesson. We are on Unit 7, Kings and Queens, Lesson 2, The Royal Family. Before we begin, what are kings and queens? Did you say kings and queens are leaders who come from royal families? As the most important and powerful people in their kingdoms, kings and queens and the members of their royal families always got the best of everything. They got the best of everything just for being born into a royal family. I want you to think about your family, specifically where you live, what you do during the day, and the family members and pets that live with you. Did you respond with some of these? That your family lives in a house, a trailer, an apartment, that during the day mom and dad go to work, I go to school, and your pets might be things like a cat, dog, bird. As we hear the next story, think about how your family is different from the royal family, or how it might be the same as the royal family. Today, you will learn about the royal family. You will learn about what life was like for the children of royal families, who are called princes and princesses. The author gives reasons to support the points that he makes in the read aloud. Listen carefully to hear the reasons that the author gives for why there were good and not so good things about being a child in a royal family. Most kings and queens wanted to make sure they had lots of children, and they made sure those children understood what it meant to be part of the royal family. Being a prince or princess had both advantages and disadvantages. Advantages means that there are good things about being in a royal family. Disadvantages means that there are not so good things about being in a royal family. This picture shows King George V of England, the Queen, and 4 of their sons. As you can see, children in the royal family got to wear fancy clothing. They lived with their parents in the palace, which gave them plenty of space to run and play. Fine furniture and other beautiful things always surrounded them. For many kings and queens, having children was not just a matter of wanting to raise a family. In fact, children were the key to the future prosperity and success of the kingdom. Children were important to the wealth and good fortune of a kingdom. But why were children so important? Once a person became king, he usually remained king for the rest of his life. The period of time during which he ruled was called a king's reign. The same is true for a queen who sits on the throne. What's a king's or queen's reign? Is that this kind of reign we are talking about? Is this the kind of rain we are talking about when we say it's raining outside? No, this is the different type of rain. This is talking about the king and queen ruling over a kingdom. And when the king died, his reign ended, and one of the children from the royal family became the new ruler. When you inherit something, it means that someone else, usually a relative, gives you something that once belonged to them. Often, when a person dies, their property, the things they own, including their belongings and money, are passed on to family members who then inherit these things. This is what happened in kingdoms when the ruling king or queen died. Their power, the right to sit on the throne and wear the crown, was passed on to someone else in the family. Royal families always wanted children, so the power to rule the kingdom stayed in their family. If there were no children, sometimes the power to rule the kingdom went to a different family. Someone who inherits something is called an heir. In a kingdom, princes and princesses were heirs to the throne because they were to inherit the throne. The oldest son, the one most likely to be heir to the throne, is called the crown prince. When we are talking about the crown prince as the heir to the throne, are we talking about someone who becomes the king, or are we talking about the air we breathe? We are talking about someone who becomes the king. He is called the crown prince because he is the next person to wear the king's crown and rule the kingdom. If there is no son, the oldest daughter is called the crown princess because she will be the next person to wear the crown and rule the kingdom. Remember that the crown is a symbol of power and that whoever wears it is in charge. This photograph shows King George V of England, the Queen, and four of their sons. The oldest of the sons is the crown prince because he will be the next king. The adults treat him with great respect, even though he is only a teenager. People hold doors for him and bow to him because he has the important status of being the next king. He has grown up having people serve him and tell him that he is very important. What is the next king called? That's right, the next king is called the crown prince or heir to the throne. This is a picture of a palace in the country called Morocco. Morocco is right here on our globe in the continent of Africa. Inside this big, beautiful palace lives a crown prince named Moulay Hassan. He lives with his father, mother, and little sister. His father is the king of Morocco. Moulay was born in 2003 and is the oldest son of the king. Moulay will be the next king of Morocco because he is the oldest son and the crown prince of Morocco. What do you see happening in this picture? Did you say that there are a lot of people, a lot of important, wealthy people? Looks like maybe a wedding or a marriage is taking place. The crown prince or princess is very important member of the royal family, and he or she receives a special education and extra special care in order to someday rule the kingdom. But what happens to the other princesses and princes, they who are not the oldest and heirs to the throne? Remember, the heir to the throne is the son or daughter who will become the next king or queen. Kings and queens often arranged marriages for their children. This meant the princes and princesses usually did not get to choose whom they were going to marry. Their parents decided for them. This was because marriage was used as a way to form a partnership between two kingdoms, or a way for two kingdoms to rule together as a team. When a prince or princess married someone from another kingdom, as in this picture of a wedding between a princess from England and a prince from Germany, it was an important event. All the most important people from those two kingdoms were invited because it meant that those kingdoms were going to be friends in the future. Once again, I have our globe here, and the wedding is talking about England, which is in the United Kingdom, and Germany creating a partnership or a friendship. There were definitely advantages to being a member of the royal family, especially for those who liked living in palaces and wearing nice clothes. But being a prince or a princess wasn't all fun and games. Some disadvantages included that they didn't always get to do whatever they wanted, especially when it came to whom they would marry. Often, anything they did was watched and commented on by others. Everything they did reflected on the kingdom and the royal family, and they had to be careful to behave in a royal manner at all times. In a royal family, what is the mom called? Did you say queen? What is the daughter called in a royal family? Was your answer princess? What is the son called in a royal family? Did you say prince? What is the dad called in a royal family? Did you say king? What is a crown prince or an heir to the throne? Was your response something in this? A crown prince or an heir to the throne is the next king or queen to rule the kingdom. Why was it very important for a king or queen to have a child? Was your response so that the power to rule the kingdom would stay in the family? Sometimes kingdoms formed partnerships by making a connection or becoming friends with another kingdom. How were partnerships made between kingdoms? Did you say marriage or wedding? Kings and queens arranged marriages between their children and children of other kings and queens in other countries. Then the two kingdoms would form a partnership or a team. What reasons does the author give to support the point that there are advantages to being part of the royal family? Did you say that an advantage to being part of the royal family is living in a palace and being heirs to the throne, having nice clothing? What reasons does the author give to support the point that there are disadvantages to being part of the royal family? Did you remember that sometimes a disadvantage to being part of the royal family is having to behave a certain way all the time and having an arranged marriage? I hope you enjoyed lesson 2 of hearing more about the royal family.